Hello people, this is Margaret Kwisiguma reaching you all the way from Benin City, Nigeria. Woo, I'm your host on the program, Breaking the Odds. It's an interactive, informative, and exciting program where we're going to be talking with real people, real issues, discussing and profiling real solutions to life's issue, where we're going to be talking with a lot of wonderful personalities from every sphere of life on the show Breaking the Odds. I just want you to make a time with us, keep the date. It comes your way from Eagles TV here in Benin City, Nigeria, every Sunday by 6 p.m. Of course, you can reach us on any of our social media platforms if you want to be part of the show, and of course you also want to make your comments. Well, the program also is open for sponsorship and partnership. Wherever you're going to be watching the program from across the world, we are saying here on Eagles TV, live with Margaret Kwisiguma, reaching on Breaking the Odds, that this program is in their need of sponsor. Come be part of us, be our partner, be our sponsor, advertise a lovely program on the show Breaking the Odds. Don't forget, I did say that the program is focusing on real people, real issues, discussing real solutions. With real me, Margaret Kwisiguma, your host on the show. And of course, I'm also going to be having a wonderful team, Ade and Osama and the Eagles TV crew. So don't miss out on this every Sunday, reaching you live from Nigeria. Keep the date, it's by 6 p.m. Love you so much, and I look forward to hooking up with you. Have a great day. Hello people, compliments of the season, and welcome to another spicy edition of the program Breaking the Odds, reaching you all the way from Benin City, Nigeria, Eagles Television. My name is Margaret Kwisiguma, your host on the program. Well, on today's spicy edition, we'll promise to really make it very, very interesting. And I just want you to grab the seatness by your TV set, and let's do it the best way we usually know how to do it. Well, today we're going to be looking at the Nigerian budget. Recently, we saw the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari presents the 2020 national budget before the National Assembly. And that budget has a whopping sum, 10.33 trillion. Woo! That's quite large. Like I've often heard, that budget, it's only budgeting. Well, it has not yet been approved yet. So the president has just presented the budget, which amounted to 10.33 trillion naira, with so many distributions along various lines. So we're actually going to be looking at how this budget affects the ordinary man on the streets, and also how this budget will help to bring the needed development which Nigeria earnestly needs, and help us get out of inflation. So wherever you're watching this program from across the world, we want to welcome you on board. We'll be right back after the break, because I have a special guest from one of Nigeria's most prestigious university in Benin City. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away. Oh, welcome back. Ooh, I'm so glad you're still there. Ooh, I feel real excited because it's the Christmas season. I know everywhere is full of excitement. A lot of persons are already shopping for the Christmas. Well, while you're shopping, we're looking at how much this budget, which the federal government just presented before the National Assembly, really has affected our society. And I have with me to discuss the economy today no other than a wonderful personality, Dr. Uvenseri Ogbomo. Sir, I want to welcome you to the program Breaking the Odds.
It's a pleasure.
It's nice to have you. Compliment of the season.
Same to you.
I know you're fully ready to celebrate this season. So how are you doing today?
We thank God for everything.
Okay, Dr. Ogbomo, let's talk about Nigerian economy, Nigerian budget, and of course how it affects the ordinary man on the street. We just watched the Nigerian president presents 10.33 trillion naira, a whooping sum, I consider that, before the National Assembly. Now tell me, How actually does that translate to helping to drive Nigeria's economy and taking us from the present situation, from the perceived difficult or inflation situation we're experiencing?
All right. The president says that the budget is to take Nigeria to the next level. And if you watch very, very well, the budget is 10.33 trillion naira.
That's a whooping sum.
Quite huge. But if you decompose that by virtue of the current exchange rate and inflation rate, so the money is quite small.
How do you mean?
What I mean is that as at 10 years ago or 8 years ago, exchange rate was about 158 naira to a dollar.
Yeah.
Today it's almost times 2. It's 350, 360 naira to a dollar.
Yeah.
And also, if you also match that with inflation, you quite agree with me that the budget is quite small compared to the level of activity going on in the economy.
Okay, now before we come to the distribution of the 10.33 trillion naira, what does it take to actually come out with a national budget? What are the processes involved?
All right, the various MDAs, the ministries and agencies, what they do at the beginning of the year, they collate all the activities and what they tend to spend their money on and other things like that. They collate them and they assemble them. It is the aggregation of all this that forms the national budget of Nigeria, of any economy. So like Nigeria, the ministries, the agencies, they aggregate all their expenditure and other things like that. And when put together, that forms the budget for the Nigerian economy.
All right, now let's look at the various distribution of the budget. One of the particular item which caught my fancy, it's debt servicing, which amounted to 2.24 trillion naira. And here the president just presented 10.33 trillion naira. And yet the nation is going to be spending 2.24 trillion naira on debt services.
For debt servicing,
Do you think that portends well for the nation?
It's a very great danger for the economy in the sense that if you remove 2.45 trillion from 10.3, you are left with about 7-something trillion to work with in the first place. So discover that huge chunk of money going for debt servicing is quite damaging to the economy.
Quite damaging. Could you expatiate on that?
Yes. What I mean is that if you remove that chunk of money from the proposal, you are left with about 7 trillion naira to work with. If you further kind of subject that to the current economic realities of inflation and exchange rates, you discover that we are left about between 3 to 5 trillion naira.
So this actually doesn't portend well at all for a nation such as ours.
To be frank with you, that budget servicing portion of the budget is quite damaging. As I said earlier, it's quite damaging because if we are to assess that, that means that for the next 12 months, we are devoting 12.45 trillion to service debt. And little will not be left to manage the rest of the economy. And you are quite aware that the minimum wage, whatever is there now, it's not yet set.
Well, we have some states still struggling on how to pay.
And things like that. So if we actually put that into debt servicing, you will agree with me that we are faced with a lot of economic difficulties in the future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Obama. Okay, now we're looking at other items. We look at what is earmarked for power. We have 127 billion naira, and education 82 billion naira. Also going side by side agriculture, which is 83 billion naira. Do you think this is sufficient to run a growing economy which wants to become a leading economy of the world in come 2020?
Okay, let me start with agriculture first of, which is about 82 billion naira as proposal for
That's 83
for agriculture.
Looking at agriculture as an economic driver.
Yes, yes.
Moving away from dependence on oil.
Yes, because if we are actually trying to address the issue of food security, and now that the border is locked down, and we're not depending on ourselves, I think to me, the government need to adjust that a little bit to ensure that we focus more to drive the economy on the premise of agriculture. And when that is done, I think to me, if the budget is judiciously utilized, to go a long way to stimulate the growth of the economy through agriculture.
All right, thank you so much. And then for education, this is a little bit encouraging. We're seeing 82 billion naira for education.
To me, that is not quite enough because it's still a far cry from UNESCO projection of about 25% of total budget devoted to education. If you look at that, it's quite less than 12% devoted to education. So if you want to take our education to the next level, we need to look at the money we are spending on education. And if you compare Nigeria to some other countries of the world like Singapore, Taiwan, and the rest, who devote not less than 30% of the total budget to education, you agree with me that we are far.
Of course,
we are far
such
from,
nations are becoming leading nations.
From leading Africa now on the part of education from what we are seeing from the budget now.
Okay, now we're looking at defense.
Okay,
defense, you have about 100 billion naira. We are faced with the issue of insurgency, insecurity in the land. Do you think that this is sufficient to help in the area of defense?
If you look at it now, defense is higher than education, higher than even health. And that tells you that a lot of money is going for defense when compared to human capital development. I'm not surprised based on the fact that we are grappling with issue of internal security and things like that. Northeast of Nigeria and all around the country, there are threats to national security. I think to me, once if you're able to put that money into adequate use, to me, it's quite a good one.
All right, now you raised an alarm that considering what the nation is going to be spending on debt servicing, you think it's actually not too okay because it's already spelled doom as it is. Now we're looking at IGR. Couldn't the federal government perhaps has considered IGR? Because if we have much of internally generated revenue, wouldn't it help to reduce much of this debt servicing? What is a mark for debt servicing?
You see, the issue of IGR comes from one thing. If you are able to stimulate the growth of the economy from the bottom, then you can begin to rely on IGR. But now, what we are seeing on ground is not enough. It's not enough to boost the local industries and the only thing I feel the government should start thinking of now is to increase the tax base to ensure that more people are brought into the tax net. Because if you look at it now, few persons are paying it. Let me say that it is those who are working, those who are documented to be working. Those are people that are paying taxes in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Then maybe corporate organizations like that. But to me, if we can increase the tax base of the economy, then by nothing the government thinking of how to increase VAT. But to me, that is not the way to go, if you ask me. If you bring more people on board to pay taxes, that will kind of pave way for more revenue coming to the economy. But we have to do something. We have to address the base of the economy, like SMEs and things like that. When you like now, the power supply is an issue in Nigeria. So companies are closing down. Any company want to Nigeria must think of establishing their power supply plant, and that goes a long way to increase the cost of production in Nigeria. And if If you examine all this, you quite agreement that we are not there yet.
Yeah, because any nation that is able to solve particularly the issue of electricity, such nation will succeed in the path of national development.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still talking with Dr. Ovensiri Ogbomo. I want to especially thank you for just joining us. The program is Breaking the Odds. At this moment, we'll certainly go on a short break, and when we return, we'll still be talking more. I also have another special guest standing by, so don't go away. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Well, the program is still Breaking the Odds, and of course, I'm your host, Margaret Christy Guma. We're still talking Nigerian economy and, of course, the budget. We're looking at the significance of the budget and how the budget affects the common man. Now, Dr. Ovensiri, let's look at how does the budget actually affect the ordinary man on the streets?
Well, every Nigerian will always want to adjust their spending spree based on the budget of Nigeria. First and foremost, I want to say that if the minimum wage that is being proposed now is part of the budget, you will expect that the economy become robust because there will be spending along the line. Yeah. So
Nigerians... But we're having issues because some governors are even finding it very difficult to pay.
Well, they have no choice. They have no choice because if they don't pay the minimum wage, because they've all agreed to pay. The only talk now is how they can trickle down the higher echelon of civil servants, so that those at the bottom can receive a higher proportion of the minimum wage. So to me, if that is passed, that is one of the ways it can affect the common man.
All right, so I'm sure you heard that. Well, we're still looking at the federal government. The process of the budgetary and system is still ongoing. This is not the final stage. Before now, we didn't used to have the president present budget this early. And a lot of people have been applauding the federal government for presenting the budget very early. And now the budget is now from January to December as against what it used to be. Do you think this is a good development?
Yes, it's a good one in the sense that it's now a kind of a full 12-month cycle. Okay. So January to December. So the government have 12 months to plan with, and the issue of those agencies who could not exhaust their budget, playing pranks or probably returning money to the federal purse will longer arrive, because within 12 months you expect to put all your acts together and disburse all the money you want to disburse and ensure that the money is put into proper use. I think to me it's a good omen for Nigeria.
Okay, now you also talked about government also encouraging SMEs. They will look at the finance or the money which the federal government said is being returned from foreign accounts into Nigeria. Don't you think rather that if the federal government plows this money back into the system, it will also help to boost the economy?
Yeah, definitely. From what I saw from the debt servicing, which about 23.7% of our total budget being earmarked to service debt, and the only way to me that can be reduced is if we can bring in some of this money that's been recouped from corrupt officials. So those money can be plowed back to the economy. So that will go a long way to reduce that particular amount of money earmarked for debt servicing. Okay,
now finally, before you go, or before we let you off the hook, where do you see Nigeria after this budget is finally been approved and passed into law? Where do you see Nigeria in the next 10 years?
Well, that is quite a huge question, because I feel that the only way we can go in Nigeria is to begin to have vision. And not just have a vision, a workable and practicable vision. Where do we want to be the next 10 years? I think to me, if we can address education, address healthcare, then fundamentally address power supply. Then if these three things are put into perspective and rigorously addressed, it will go a long way to fix the economy, and all other things hinged on these three fundamental and critical sectors of the Nigerian economy.
Well, Dr. Ogbomo, I really want to thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
You've actually spoken greatly, and I hope that you've watched the program and, of course, you're following on every detail of what Dr. Ogbomo is actually saying. And for the federal government, what he's saying is that Nigeria should borrow less. And, of course, that IGRA, internally generated resources, should also be looked into. And for those foreign wealth that has been returned back to our country, he also thinks that this should be distributed around. Talked about the issue of power. We learned also that 127 billion naira is being earmarked for power. So we just hope that this will be judiciously used so that Nigeria will become that proud nation celebrating uninterrupted power supply, and of course for SMEs also to grow effectively or efficiently. Well, once again, Dr. Ogbomo, we want to say thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Of course, we wish you
it's been a
the
pleasure.
best of the Christmas celebration
and
a wonderful New Year. The program still continues. I'm going to be having another special guest. I'll be talking with Dr. Gina Asemota. She's also an economist. We're looking at the economy, and we're looking also on how you can spend wisely during this Yuletide season. Well, after spending, remember, January is somewhat longer than every other month. So this is the time to invest and save for the rainy day. So we'll be right back after the short break. Don't go away. So we're looking at the recently presented budget by the federal government of Nigeria. Now, are you impressed with the amounts earmarked in the budget so far?
The budget is impressive. Every year you see an increase in the budget of last year. This year is a bit higher than that of last year. But what we always see is that this budget is not always fully implemented. And we see a lot of lapses in the implementation. A lot of money, the budget look bogus, and you think that government will be able to achieve something sufficient for people to see that government is working. But at the end of the day, what you find is something short of expectation. Because you see, I know that in most cases the budget is just a paperwork, and most of the money budgeted is not released. You budget, at the end of the day, you will see that a major part of the money budgeted is not released, and projects marked to be executed with the budget are not completed. Some are haphazardly done. So I will advise the government to monitor the implementation of the budget. Whatever is released, it must be properly accounted for, so that we have value for the money. The people, Nigerian people, are expecting so much from the government, and when those expectations are not met, in fact, we are disappointed. So we want the government to do, one thing is to release or to put a budget and release money. Another one is to monitor the implementation of what that money is being released for. So, and that is, I think, is lacking. So, government should sit up to let us have value for our money, so that will not be having people will not be complaining. You see unemployment here and there, no work, people are not, no development, no infrastructures are low ebb, no industries. These are things that are basic to employ people, but these are not there. Just most of a major part of the money goes to wrong hand, and the value is not there. We don't get value for what we are seeing. So,
How do you think the government can block leakages?
yes, it's monitoring. They must involve people to make sure what had been budgeted for is implemented. That is, meet the ministries and parastatals that this money is sent to for implementation should be monitored. They should be accountable. Every kobo must be accountable by the offices that need to implement those projects. So we will not. It will be out of place for government to just release money and go and sit down, and you do not have a feedback. Those things, there must be a feedback, and then the auditing must be done properly. Then the certain things should be put on ground to make sure you have a proper accountability for what every kobo spent, so that we have value for our money.
All right, welcome back. The show is still very much on, and I'm still here. I know you are still here too. How you doing? Well, I did introduce my special guest that I said will be joining me on the show. I'm also going to be talking with an economist par excellence, well, also a lecturer from Benson Idahosa University here in Benin City, Nigeria. I'm going to be talking with Dr. Gina Asemota. She is a wonderful personality, a woman I've always looked forward to seeing. Dr. Gina Asemota, I want to welcome you to Breaking the Odds. Oh, it's so nice to have you on the show. How you doing? You really look gorgeous, Mom.
Thank you.
Oh, so a compliment of the season.
Same to you.
Okay, fans, we're going to be looking at the need. When I mean the need, I'm actually stressing it this time around, the need or essence of budgeting. We spoke earlier with Dr. Ovensiri, where he actually laid emphasis on the Nigerian budget and how it affects the common man. I'm going to be discussing with Dr. Gina Asemota, and together we shall be looking at household budgeting. It is very important as families to have a very good income. By planning your income effectively, we're asking, what is the source of your income? Is it just your job, or do you also have other streams of income? And then also, how have you budgeted that income of yours, particularly when you're faced with so many needs dragging your attention? Dr. Gina, we have so much to talk about. How are you doing? Okay, now let's look at household budgeting. Household budgeting, the new year rather is just around the corner. The year 2019 is gradually drawing to a close, and we're just looking at 2020. We saw recently the federal government presenting the national budget before the House of Assembly. Okay, now let's come back now to families. How do you think at this time around families should plan their own household budget?
I believe that the families planning their budget is the key to earn the resources of even the national budgets. Because the national budgeting actually starts, or the success of the national budget actually starts with the ability of every family to manage his income, in such a way that the essence of the national budget is met. Because when we talk about budgeting, personally, that's even from the federal level, it's about trying to achieve some certain things. The government usually makes some budgets actually either to stop inflation, or that's to curb inflation, or to make money available to the household. So based on this, the government actually has the mind to make sure that things work well in the household level. And it is now that the success of the national budget depends on how the household on their own, we act to whatever. That's families. The family, yes, the family now, we act to whatever they perceive the federal government is about to do. Now, when they feel that next year there's going to be a tightening in the budget, you discover that the family, personally, they make some adjustments so that such a tightening in the national budget will not have an adverse effect on their personal lives, and the welfare of their children, the welfare of the family on itself. So at the end of the day, you discover that the budget, that's the national budget, has a way, it has a trickling down on what the family, finally do with their own budgets.
Okay, now we live in a country where there's so much dependence on salaries. How do you think that families could be able to probably have extra income to be able to cope to be able to cope particularly the challenging economy? Now, we're looking at other areas of extra income outside the dependence on salary.
We always talk about there's this minimum wage affecting those in government parastatals, the state, federal government, the state government. And the unfortunate thing is that when we look at the number or the percentage of families actually in that bracket in Nigeria right now, I think they are less than 30%. So we now discover that even when we're talking about these salaries now, presently, in the face of what is happening concerning this minimum wage, concerning all these things, we discover that more than 70%, depending on their present salary, will really become, there will really be a lot of distress if they have to depend on their present salary. There is now the need for every family to begin to think about how much they can make extra income, depending on, aside their salaries. Now, you discover that in Nigeria, the prospect of making this extra income is not as wide as it is in other countries, where they have vibrant stock exchange markets and all that. Well, here we are faced with the kind of stock exchange markets we have. We cannot really rely on our shares, proceeds from shares and others. So we now really need to make, it's not even just having one salary the way it is now in Nigeria. It's like anybody who really wants to survive in Nigeria has to have a means, another very active means of income, which which will sort of be something that will be breeding more, that will be bringing
extra
in
income,
extra income.
Such as?
Well, in Nigeria, we discovered that basically we need to do something like we'd have to learn some crafts, some vocations, such that people could, some families now, instead of just relying on the income from a white-collar job, the women could go into some kind of vocations like hairdressing, fashion, and all those ones that comes in different things. There's some agricultural practices and all kinds of things. You have to go back to all those. The men themselves, they just have to think of other things that they could do, apart from their salaries. And then it's quite some men. We've even seen it. Some of them have turned their private vehicles into cabs, into different things.
In order to meet family.
In order to meet family needs. So there's really need for this extra income everywhere. And another way, again, something, when we look at income, income necessarily does not mean money coming in. It could also mean you saving money through some ways. What are we talking about? We are talking about learning some of these fashion things, or hairdressing, tailoring, and all those things. You may not actually do it for the public, but the fact that you can do it for your family is already, it's a kind of way that you are bringing in income in another reverse way. That's you are trying to conserve their resources of your. That's the salary, the resources, the household resources. So in that kind of way, you can also call it an income in the sense that you are not expending, where you should have expended something, you are actually saving it because you, in a way, you are generating the money you should have spent outside by doing it yourself. So I still advise that a lot of do-it-yourself jobs have to be done, internally. So women have to train themselves. We train themselves.
Particularly
so that,
women.
Yes, women. We have to retrain themselves into many of these do-it-yourself things, so that many things we can save a lot of income.
And also assist in supporting the family. I know.
So
well, we applaud our women, though, in Nigeria, where a lot of women are very industrious. And I think a lot of women are actually taking the bull by the horn at the moment. Well, thank you so much. It's actually been nice talking with you, Dr. Gina. But before I let you off the hook, now here comes 2020. What's your advice to family, particularly at this time as we move into 2020? January seems to be a little longer. Families are spending towards the end of the year. And then now 2020 comes, you're going to have families paying their house rent, and then the children's fees are there, and so many bills will be rearing their head. Okay, so now how would you advise families to brace up into 2020 financially?
It's quite an unfortunate situation we found ourselves in Nigeria. Right from the time, it's a kind of, we have this habit of saving towards Christmas. Forget that Christmas is actually a day.
Okay.
And I keep telling, there was a time I looked at many things. So if this family could take the energy they take in saving towards Christmas, if it were used to save money for other things, I believe that the family in Nigeria will be living better lives. An average family in Nigeria spend not less than 12,000–15,000 on each child in December. And they sort of forget that January comes with a lot of expenses. Firstly, school fees has to be paid. Many other expenses just have to go, and then you see people spending so much in December. My advice is that we need to reorientate ourselves from this habit of Christmas craze. Christmas, for God's sake, is just a day.
A day, like every other day.
It's a day. It's just a day. And the festivities, it marks the end of a year, does not really mean that we should take debt into the next year. We should even have that sober reflection, that we should think about entering the year even with more prosperous than this thing, instead of entering a new year with debts. So I think the advice I have for families now is that we need to reorientate ourselves, to know very well that Christmas is just a day. We should save towards a new year to make something good for our children the next year. We should begin to think about, savings. I remembered one time I took, if every family takes every year and save 1,000 naira a month for a child every month, that's for each child, we'll be surprised what would have come into that child's account in 10 years.
Right.
The child will be more grateful to you in 15 years' time than for everything you have spent every Christmas for that child. So I will want parents now to always think, to know that January in itself, it's comes with so much expenses, especially school fees, house rents, various things. And there is the need for families to think about entering the year richer than how they were, instead of entering the year in a poorer state. So we really need orientation in this country.
Well, Dr. Gina, it's actually been nice talking with you. Thank you so much. I'm sure you heard that very well from Dr. Gina. She just advised, well, it's okay to have a nice time during the Yuletide, but you should also have at the back of your mind that it's very important for you to plan for the new year. The new year is just around the corner. And then there's also need, she spoke about the need for diversification. I mean, a lot of parents, particularly in Nigeria here, depend solely on their salaries. But what we're looking at, considering what the world globally is actually facing, which is inflation, we're saying that salaries actually may not be enough to be able to meet our everyday need. So it's the need for families to diversify their finances. And then for women, we give you guys kudos. Ooh, our ladies are really working very hard. Well, the support is there. We thank you so much, but you still have to do more. Well, this is not the time for people for families to fold their hands and just stare. No, this is the time for diversification. She also said there's different SMEs. A lot of people, you can go learn fashion designing, hairdressing, whatever vocation you're interested in, you can learn also. And many of these things are online, so you can just Google and learn how to do all this. Just spend less and gain more to help the home front. Thank you so much once again. We have looked at household budgeting. And earlier on, we spoke with Dr. Ogbomo, who also talked about national budgeting. Dr. Gina, we wish you the best of the new year. And thank you so much for appearing on Breaking the Odds.
Thank you.
Okay. This is where we shall be drawing the curtain on the program. It's actually been nice hanging out with you on the program Breaking the Odds, which reaches you all the way from Nigeria, Eagles TV in Benin City. Thank you so much. We wish you the best of the new year. We're going to see you again, and of course, see you again in a different way. So we wish you the best of the year. And don't forget, this program is open for sponsorship, is open for advertisement. So if whatever you have, 2020 is just here. We want you to call the lines on your screen. And of course, you also can visit our various social media platforms and let us know how you can be part and parcel of this program. And then you have also laudable ideas too. You can also make contributions on the program. So the lines are open for you. Reach us anytime, any day. So we love you, and we want to say we wish you once again the best of 2020. Thanks so much to the Eagles TV crew. Mike has actually been excellent, and of course, Shegun's by his side, and not also leaving out to Ozzy and Ade, and also have some new persons who have been added on board. All right, together, we are wishing you the best of the new year. So do have a swell day. I'm out of the studio. Hello people, this is Margaret Kwisiguma reaching you all the way from Benin City, Nigeria. Woo, I'm your host on the program, Breaking the Odds. It's an interactive, informative, and exciting program where we're going to be talking with real people, real issues, discussing and profiling real solutions to life's issue. Where we're going to be talking with a lot of wonderful personalities from every sphere of life on the show, Breaking the Odds. I just want you to make a time with us, keep the date. It comes your way from Eagles TV here in Benin City, Nigeria, every Sunday by 6 p.m. Of course, you can reach us on any of our social media platforms if you want to be part of the show. And of course, you also want to make your comments. Well, the program also is open for sponsorship and partnership. Wherever you're going to be watching the program from across the world, we are saying here on Eagles TV, live with Margaret Kwisiguma, reaching on Breaking the Odds, that this program is in their need of sponsor. Come be part of us, be our partner, be our sponsor, advertise a lovely program on the show, Breaking the Odds. Don't forget, I did say that the program is focusing on real people, real issues, discussing real solutions. With real me, Margaret Kwisiguma, your host on the show. And of course, I'm also going to be having a wonderful team, Ade and Osama and the Eagles TV crew. So don't miss out on this. Every Sunday, reaching you live from Nigeria. Keep the date, it's by 6 p.m. Love you so much, and I look forward to hooking up with you. Have a great day.